The Daily Maverick claims that the Mineral Resources Department has received over 2,000 applications for mining and exploration rights, but the ministry is struggling to keep up with demand, with Minister Gwede Mantashe conceding that none of these applications received last year were ever processed. Mineral Resources Portfolio Committee Chair Sahlulele Luzipho joins us now. Sahlulele, a very good evening and thank you so much for joining us.
Good evening to you, Gwena, and the viewership of your station.
Thank you for making time. I mean, let's start right there. Worrying that we're talking about more than 2,500 mining applications, and allegedly none of them were even processed in the previous year.
Thank you. Unfortunately, I always want to clarify this thing.
Yes.
Because the perception sometimes get created. I can't speak on behalf of the department.
Sure.
I can deal with issues of accountability and responsibility on the part of the department in relation to what it is due for the benefit of South Africa's economy. Let me start from exactly the point that you are saying. I think let's draw a distinction between two things, which is I looked at the report. The report seems to be talking about the finalization of the applications with regards to mining rights. And I'm saying we should be concerned about that. One of the things you know that at times some of us have argued that until such time we invest on the productive sectors of our economy, the side of our social spending is going to suffer. We can't continuously ask for money, can't continuously ask for projects when you are not generating enough revenue for the state. And when we deal with this issue of mining, especially the issue of licensing, it actually means even the person behind must be conscientized to understand it's not just an issuing of a paper. It is about investment that is made into the economy so that the economy can respond to the social demands that are there. So I think that issue we should not miss it. So it is not an intention. But I think we must also acknowledge the fact that South Africa has experienced different challenges. One of those that we have said the department must look at is the issue of a new cadastral system, which means a system that will be responsive very quickly, but at the same time it will close possibilities of what one would call corruption and manipulation of that system. Unfortunately, that has been one of the longest processes that we have, i.e., we were told that the question of procuring of a new system does not reside with the department. The new system, or call it an IT system, is subject to the State Information Technology Agency, which is an agency of the state. Unfortunately, from where we are sitting in the portfolio committee, we also have authority and control over that system. The last point I want to say for now on this matter is that when you look at the part of the challenges, is that you had a system that sought to ensure what I would call quality control or quality system. You had a system that would have been assumed that it is fast tracking the process, i.e., there are issues. If you look at the environmental compliance processes, how the environmental information comes into play, it can take you up to 345 days to attend to that. Those are the things that we said. Try and shorten the processes without compromising the quality of that process. Processes of appeals, processes of objection, there has to be a way that the system responds to that. And we hope at the final analysis we'll be able to attend to those issues. Because failure to fast-track these processes, but in a constructive and in a much more assured manner, will then make it very difficult for those who want to invest in the economy of this country to do so because of the long-term period that are there. I can't deny the fact that we also have to look at issues, what one would call failure to perform duties on the part of public servant. I'm one of those people that has always complained that in the public service, if there is one thing that has to be attended to with a degree of agency, is the failure to ensure that consequence management is implemented to the core. And I think, I'm not saying here I'm making a judgment call to somebody else. I'm saying we fast track and tighten up the process of ensuring that there is quality control in the issue of the issuing of mining rights and permits. We also have to make sure that that system is also coupled or followed up by a true and committed public service.
Would you then say that the reason why we are dealing with this issue of not one of these applications that have been received being finalized, purely the delay, purely on the processes or the systems that are being used to, I guess, use your words, fast track these processes themselves?
It's like I said, we should not exempt. Look, most of us when we get employed, and I'm saying us because we have gone through sometimes these processes. We make good statements, sometimes very bold. We can work under pressure. We are very creative. We take initiative to do those things. We need that type of encouragement, obviously, without undermining what one is calling. But most definitely, I will agree with you 100%. We need to reform. We need to change. We need to fast track the process and the systems that we're having. And we hope that we can, for instance, it's a quite concerning exercise. If you have had a system since I came in Parliament, the cadastral system has never been improved. It's still the same old one. Surely we must appeal to our government and we must appeal to the state to have a way of fast tracking processes. It's by inherently. We seem to be having a difficulty to move from the old into a new functional and efficient system. That is why we say we have to speed up this process of the cadastral system so that it does not become an excuse. But the last thing that we have said, by the way, even from the AG, we said part of the issues that we understand is that programs of the departments all flow from the overall program targets and performance requirements of government in general. One of the things we've said, through the AG, obviously does not account to us, make sure that part of the work of the Department of Monitoring and Evaluation is to also to make assessment of departments. In this case, in our own department, they must be able to respond and say, look, where we look in terms of performance in the department, with regards to the issues of the licensing regime, there are these particular limitations, and they will require a quick intervention. And that, to me, I think it also makes sure that there's collaboration, and they could easily identify whether it is true that the reason this process of a new cadastral system is as a result of lack of agency or not enough agency on the part of the SETA in procuring that particular system. That those issues, I'm sure the Department of through the AG, when we engage with the AG, can be able to assist in fast tracking that process.
With that said, then, Sahlulele, the big question then becomes: is there capacity, one, to fix these problems? Right? You talk about systems that needs to be improved, processes that needs to be improved. But is there capacity, one, but also, as overused as this phrase is, political will to get this processes done?
There could be political will. I think we must acknowledge that political will sometimes is just it's a concept matter. Yeah. It's not necessarily an act of action. It's a concept matter. I can say that there is political will we want to change. The question is there an understanding in that political
exactly
will, the nature and the agency of the matter? Let me give you one example again. And I think we must be allowed to express our independent views. As long as we don't, for an example, we are not looking at an overarching strategy or overarching comprehensive investment strategy that will be able to identify key sectors of the economy that can be made to grow, that can be made to generate the necessary revenue, and say what are those things that are necessary. If you look now, where in regards to this, the question is how much government in its totality is making an investment on that system. Is there a common understanding of how urgent it is this? Is there a common understanding of to what extent can this be prioritized as an urgent intervention matter so that it can have those long-term outcomes. So your investment and addressing these issues, like you have said initially, will be able to respond. That's why I said political will at times, yes, it's a good and a correct term, but it does not translate itself into action. People can have the wish and the will to do things, but I don't want to say capacity, but as long as there's consciousness behind that political will, that this is what has to be happening. At times, we seem to be more fixed who is supposed to do what in a corner. When you make a general statement, for an example, that you need to cut on your budget, if you don't say, as you cut on the budget, these are the key areas that you cannot make a cut on the budget. These are the key areas that you need to make sure that there's massive investment that is put there so that there can be returns for those. So I wouldn't want to reduce this issue for me of mining, especially when it comes to exploration. It must be seen within the context of the investment that comes with it. And it cannot only be left to the Department of Mineral Resources and Energy. Government must begin to take a keen interest so that they can be able to say how much output that is here. How many jobs in the absence of processing those mining rights and finalizing them would have been created and are blocked by the failure to do so. So it must be seen as one of the key challenges and very central in the growing of our economy to ensure that there is employment, but at the same time there are returns for the benefit of our own communities, especially those that are within those mining areas.
Is government being engaged enough in that respect, Sahlulele?
It's a very difficult question. You must understand that you are speaking with the bottom on the line of engagements, but I think we're doing enough. We're doing enough on our space to make sure that we drum this up. And we can say that to some degree, obviously, you know, I'm speaking on behalf of a portfolio committee of mineral resources. We are not the way if we don't go to the same direction. But I think from where we are sitting, we have seen a lot of improvement. We have seen the intervention that was made. The backlog was much higher than this anyway before. And we have said we need to go down, nip this thing down and say, is the backlog in overall in the department, or is it located into a specific area? Should we zoom in there and show that whilst we have not received an improved system, at least there is a way of an intervention that is being made. If it means increased personnel, so be it. If it means you've got a dedicated project manager that must deal with that thing, obviously without adding extra cost within the department, that there will be people who are seized to make sure that this is what they do on a daily basis. We even raised, part of the thing that we've raised was that if the turnaround time in terms of the application for an exploration right is 14 days, surely somebody must be able to respond and say within that 14 days, when I get paid on the 15th, I would have attended to that application for an exploration right. It was accepted, it was rejected. If it was rejected, these were the grounds that were given to that person so that that person can go back and rectify or allow others whom will be able to apply for a new process. But as I said, that it also required dedication so that those who are working behind this, it's not only a question of shifting and moving papers, but there must be consciousness behind them that this is about ensuring that there is economic growth. This is about ensuring that the wealth of this country stands to benefit the historic majority of those who were dispossessed in the past.
Well, there's another point here, Sahlulele, before we talk about maybe the solutions going forward. The fact that no applications were even awarded to women and people with disabilities.
There could be some different reasons. Look, let's look first, like we have said, and I think this is not a general statement, but we have to look at. This is why we had said in the past, give us a sample. How many applications, for an example, you received in the financial year, let's say 2002, 2003, because we're doing 2003, 2004. And this is the audit that we have said. You would look to find that at times, either with all the austerity measures, whatever you call them, you find that there is a need to reduce the targets. Part of the things we've said, ensure that there is enough that is invested on the Council for Geoscience so that it can be able to do its mapping and be able to identify areas where there's potential wealth that can be discovered. So from where then we are raising is that, yes, it is concerning, but we must also say it is not only to women, it is not only to people with disability, because sometimes the process in its very nature, remember, they may have applied, but they may not have had capacity. So you may find that in the application, they are part of those who are included on the percentages that are required. But the question is, why do we have so much backlog? And we should, all of us, take responsibility, especially on the part of government, to ensure that we address the system challenges, we address the issues of human performance, we also address issues that are required in terms of interventions and consciousness that is built to those who are making applications so that they make proper application, not every time there is an appeal when they make this, or sometime when they make the application, they did not follow the necessary and the required issue. So we need to look at a much more proactive exercise that will address this situation.
So I think you sort of touched on my next and possibly last question in this regard, Sahlulele, in that, what are the solutions then? The problems have been identified, but what are the solutions?
No, the solutions we've said, like I stated, that there is a need to fast-track the custom.
Sure. But how do you do that? That's where I'm saying that if we're saying fast-track...
If as reported, the problem now is about procurement on the part of CETA, then there is a need that at the level of the... I hope, and I must say this because I don't have authority. Remember, my powers and my responsibility goes as far as the portfolio committee is concerned. I can't say those that CETA is reporting or accountable to must do that. I would say, as normal processes of government, I concede on that one, they take too long to happen. And there is a need for even to CETA to understand the critical nature of this particular aspect of the cadastral system. The second thing, there is a need to look at fast-tracking. I hope the 7th Parliament will attend to this issue because the review of the mining charter has also has been undertaken. Unfortunately, it has not come through in terms of the amendment to that as a legislation. There is a need to amend the MPRDA, including looking at shortening the time frames, ensuring that there is proper accountability measures that are in place. But lastly, there is a need for the department to take serious consideration on two aspects. One, retraining and re-energizing, ensuring that those that are doing this work are conscious enough, so reconscientizing them to understand that the question of a mining right or a permit is not just about the person who applied. It is about the general economy of this country. The last thing is to make sure that there's effective application of consequence management. I think for me, if we could address those four, we will be able at the end of the day to succeed. As I said, there could be political will, but there must be commitment into action to make sure that those do come into effect.
All right, Sahlulele, I think we will leave it at that point. Thank you so much for coming through to speak to us.
Thank you very much.
Sahlulele Luzipho, Chairperson of the Mineral Resources and Energy Portfolio Committee.